So you are guest of Podlair, and that positions you as someone who's being introduced to Podlair, but we're kind of trying to see if we trust one another. We're trying to see if you trust whether or not I'm full of shit, as you use your skepticism meter to go through the things. I understand that. And then we are having our trust issues with you. So it's okay to say this. I mean, this is kind of diplomacy. We have to understand that the reason we're meeting at a third location is we probably both don't want to meet at the other person's base, so that's okay to say. So this is kind of the guest area is, this is, upper low politics. You have to have these kind of things because, these situations arise, and here we are. So for those of you who are PICN members, working their way up, or those who are guests but basically are working to move yourself forward to being a member, you can see yourself in that way. So just understand that I'm speaking right now at large. Normally I don't talk in the guest area as much. I don't like to be here because I'm very, very shy. So I kind of had to be talked into doing this website at all because I am shy. So I really only come if I have to. So I want you guys to know, especially those who are HSP out there, that sometimes I may look angry, and I am angry, but a lot of it has to do with dealing with the intense levels of HSP that I have to. I pretty much have to zai up crazy to deal with the HSP, but then it puts me like in a block of ice I have to go like all Submariner on and bust out of. So that's how it happens that way. You'll notice pretty much all the great Najee are like that. HSP, hold steady, okay, I have to move somehow. And then Rage is how you do that, because you have so much HSP because the V-polar that the Zai comes on is like the ultimate parking brake, but then you can't move. So then you kind of drive your engine forward with the parking brake on. You're like, that sounds like a crazy rough way to go about things. I know, but it works for us. And we can actually release the parking brake at key moments. But yeah, it's like a dragon on chain. It's like, I want to go more 5 or faster or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's cool, but most of the time, if there's a reason. So I know I beat up on you guys. There's a lot of people out there who think they, are not Najee, and the Zai faux Zen thing seems to be the main reason. There's also beat up people as well, but Zai's, I think, the most popular. That's the most popular thing to fuck up. So that's why it's happening. I want you to know that I understand this because I had to go through the intense Zai phase myself, where I was like, a freaking chili, tower cucumber. So I understand because the HSP just takes you over, and so you have to kind of lock up like that. So I do understand that. But you have to understand that that energy, you were supposed to do something with it, and if you don't, it's actually just going to affect you adversely, which is why one of the reasons you can always tell someone who's doing the faux Zen is they look innervated. Similar to like depression. A lot of depression, if you think it's sadness, there's of course sad depression, but there's another variety of depression, which is repressed rage. Pretty much if you're faux Zenning it, you've got a ton of repressed rage. You're like, what are you talking about? Just know, man, that's your Zai protecting you. It's protecting you from this massive amount of like, I don't like how dumb the world is, that's like wants to come, down the G pipeline. And that scares you a little bit. It should. So I'm not actually mocking that at all, because it scared me for a long time. It still scares me now. But you just have to sort of deal with the fact that, wow, I'm a Najee and I'm flying a big blue dragon, so deal with it. Otherwise you just have like a scrawny, fucked up, messed up, caged feral creature. You ever see those tigers and lions in the zoo? Sad little things, you know what I mean? They got no muscle tone, but that's just the least of it. They look like they don't know what they're doing, and that's because they actually were made to live a life they weren't meant to lead. They need to be let out of that cage. Most animal lovers tell you really need to put them on places where you can look at them, but they get to still be doing what they do. Because otherwise, look how domestic they are. Okay, faux Zenners, you just domesticated a magic dragon. Nice going. You think Nijai fairies like it when you domesticate dragons? No, they do not. Okay, so. The reason for this is, when you unleash your cool blue dragon, or any of your source powers actually, you get superpowers. So this filming is basically about being a superhero. And what that means, I've talked before, you're like, oh, is this more heroic talk? Yeah, some, of course, it's just talking about superheroes, but really this is a talk about being a serious hero, a real hero, a Naiji master will envision a fantastical hero and then zai up the logistics of how one would actually do that. Okay, so when it comes to the superhero thing, Naiji, they're really good at it. And I have to say, all the powers of the Naiji, the complex psychology, the warp frenzy, trancing, lucid dreaming, fetishing, kensei, all those cool things, they do all contribute, but it really all comes down to one thing, being a superhero. Now, this is something that Naiji are very good at naturally, but they can teach others to do it. It's why Naiji tend to be really good at being mentors. And this is getting the crux of it. Mentor at doing what? Being a superhero. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Now, that may sound ridiculous, but that is really the only thing that makes sense. It's sort of like energy. It's the only thing that makes sense of the scientific and spiritual as far as it. It is scientific and spiritual. What am I? Scientific and spiritual. Oh, okay, but what does that mean? Well, I've looked at it, and I've studied pretty much every religion out there. I've forgotten them all too. Like Sherlock Holmes that way, I remember shit out of the blue sometimes, or I get a whole bunch when I'm on a case, and then that's like another dude. I don't know who that is, and I don't know what his character knew. But I forgot I was even going with that. What was I talking about? I'm sorry.
That you studied a lot of religions
and
you've forgotten most of them.
Yes, I've forgotten most of them, but I have looked at them, and I looked at different theories, and particularly high energy moments. High energy moment being defined, really for me, my other demands this of me, and I must impress her, it's very important to me, that be in all four quadrants, that be demonstrable in all four quadrants. It seems like being a hero was the thing. I had mentioned this a little bit in the filmings, but if I had to say, I'm gonna go on here, I'm just gonna relax. This may take a while. I don't know. My other just wants me to talk, so this may, I don't know how long this will take. I usually don't talk like this down here in the guest area, and I don't talk like this when I'm out in public. I have a lot more zai on. I don't look zai'd up. I look really G, but still I'm really zai'd up. So this is me more natural. So enjoy it or not. My other really doesn't care. I'm here to please her. By the way, I'm very strong right now because I have two really awesome Nijai here with me, so I'm only going to get stronger because they're grooving on this, which means more are going to come in and more Naiji. And as I'm going to explain to you, that gives a person superpowers. You want this. You're like, how come you keep saying, motherfucker, I want this and I want that, like you know? Because I do. I do. My kind do. We know things. That's what we do. We know things about people. And it's cool to know about systems as well, and Naiji are very good at that. But actually, there's a unique talent to knowing about people because we are people. So even when we're dealing with systems, at the end of the day, the system always interfaces with us. We are a system. We're the system of people. So coming at things as the right person, approaching something, pretty much is the end-all, be-all of whether or not you're going to get it right, or how much of it you'll get right, or how much you'll get right under application. Because as my other respondent was saying, no matter how good a theory is, nature keeps changing. So that theory could have been perfect, but it was perfect like a millisecond ago, and then the cosmos wouldn't shift it on you like a millisecond later. So you have to keep adjusting that theory. So it's an unfolding thing. But that's the fun. Otherwise, I'd be bored. So first, going back to the seriousness, is now I'm going to talk about what superheroes have. One quality you'll notice about superheroes is they pretty much are what you see in most movies. And I'm not talking about this new deluge of comic characters that you see in cinema today. I'm talking about the dramatic quality of a proper protagonist. If you read up on this subject, you'll generally come up with one, usually first thing, which implies a second thing. The first thing is don't be boring. Seriously, that's the worst crime of all, is to be boring. So don't do that. Otherwise, people are wondering, why am I reading this? Why do I care? Why is it meaningful to me? But the next thing is they need to stand out for something. Preferably noble. Or, as a demonstration of what happens when nobility is not enacted. Now you may be thinking that you've seen certain shows that seem very sciencey, you're like, that's not what it's all about. Yes, it is. The entire purpose of scientific discourse is to make humans stop being stupid. You're like, obviously. Okay? Why? Because stupid people do stupid things. Okay? What's that mean? It means they're ignorant. Okay? What does that mean? It means they hurt me. It means they hurt me because they don't know what they're doing. So, at the end of the day, we're basically being affected at the greatest level by other humans. I mean, if you look at the cosmos and how it's unfolded energetically from, the chemical soup all the way out to here, we're the shiz. I mean, we're the strongest thing out here. So what we do with each other, that's pretty much the destiny of the cosmos, unless we can find some aliens that actually are further along than we are. I mean, correct my math on that. But per se anyway. But basically, superheroes are individuals like in cinema where they are bothered by the environment. Now, this impetus can come from within, maybe they're more directive in nature, or it can come from the environment hitting on them and they have to do something. But they must stand outside what other people are doing and do something else to make them worthwhile watching. Even when you do something like, your Harvey Dent kind of thing, or I don't know if that's the right name, but the everyman kind of thing, you're trying to express why that's important. That word, epic, important, it's basically about being heroic, because every time you study another human, you're learning how you can be, so you can do the job better. You're like, okay, I don't know why people hedge on this hero word, or superhero. Let's break that. I'm a Nigerian, therefore a master of semantics, so let's break this word down. Hero. Hero is something that does something spiffy. So why is that bad? Like, if you see someone doing something and they do it right, meaning they win, winning in both the effect of their action and the reason for taking the action, because there's two kinds of winning. And you can really idolize both, actually, but you really should combine the two. But point is, that's not wrong. So basically, I'm going to bring in something that's going to freak you out, especially since people are throwing around words like cult with what we're doing right here, right now, which is funny because, like, I consider all you MBTIers to be fucking cultists. You're cultists. Really, I'm tired of this shit, so I'm going on the offensive. So, what were they talking about? I was getting angry there for a second.
Superhero.
Yes, hero is idol worship. That's the, see, I didn't want to say it. It's like the evil word you can't say. Hero worship. That's actually something that people often ascribe to like early shamanic traditions. Like, ooh, it's stupid. No, that's a really good idea. We should have kept doing that and kept adding on the scientific discoveries. But we didn't do that. And art. Somehow, like the science and the art and spirituality, that we came up memes. Memes for those things actually derailed us from that, so that became the task. But I can tell you right now, because, and I have the right to say this because I'm a badass Naiji who's breaking all kinds of records, and I'm from a mojo that break records all the time, so I can kind of tell you how records get broken. You have to see what has been done before and try and not be like that. Like the plant hunter guy, very scientific thing, but his whole thing was like, they're doing it wrong. It's a very human thing. You have to figure out why the other humans aren't able to do it, and then you can do it. Hopefully you use this power for good. Heroes tend to be game changers. It's weird, people, a lot of memes actually kind of train their citizens to not want to be that. Like, that's a bad thing. That's because they're afraid they'll change the memes that work for them. But actually, humans were meant to be game changers. Every single one of us a walking game changer. That is a lot of responsibility. And we keep coming back to this hero word. I'm throwing all these other words out here, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like a mojo, like a conflagration of hues. What other word can I use that sums up all of that? I will use, for example, Mr. Russian Genius Man. Okay, there's a math genius dude who turned down $1 million for cracking some pretty spiffy math case. This reclusive Russian genius who solved one of math's most baffling problems has finally explained why he doesn't want the cool million. Basically, he doesn't want more credit than he's due. That's heroic. You're like, so what? Okay, you can take my word on this now, or you can just wait till I crush you off with evidence later, but just know this. That is how he did that. It goes back to separate scientific and spiritual. I'll go on. Basically, this dude, what's his name? His name is...
It's underlined.
Grigory Perelman. Okay, Grigory Perelman lives out kind of by himself and really is an extreme recluse. Now, he probably has some issues that I could help him with, being that he is HSP, and most people, could all use help with that. I need temples as my building now because I need more help myself. He knew what he was doing as far as he set a heroic intention. I want to crack these math cases. Now, maybe he didn't put it in those terms as mine, but he simply put, I want to know truth. He dedicated himself to that, and he came to the conclusion, the heroic conclusion, that that would take sacrifice. That's heroism. You're like, what? You really can't get really smart or really good at anything without sacrifice. So those are heroic decisions. What do I sacrifice for? Like family, that's a heroic decision. In this case, this is really sciencey, but this isn't, because that tends to bother science types, like atheist types. They're like heroism. That sounds like just another religious kind of thing. It's spiritual, but it's completely scientific, and I'm going to tell you, the data's coming in that Naiji, who, and this is all humans, but I'm using Naiji as a case study that you won't be able to do anything about because they've broken more records than anyone else. So I have a very strong case on this. They make themselves different. They want to live different, be different, so whatever it was, which we don't know yet. Now, can this lead to paranoia? Absolutely. We have to watch out for that. I admit that. But this is the noble part. I don't know yet, kind of like in Aliens, you saw like, this is really like a NIAPA nightmare right there, the aliens thing. I'm sure it's a nightmare for everyone, but NIAPA think these terms in that visceral way. It's a visceral exploding out of the alien from the chest, but you're like, that's scary. It is scary, and that's frightening in a horrific V way, but actually for the NIAPA, actually there's something more horrific. It's not by itself, obviously the implication of what happened it makes that fear, but like this is the actual reason of the fear, the heart, the source of the fear. How come no one noticed a dude or dudette got infected by an alien thing? And then, worse paranoia, how did they walk around for apparently some sort of germinating period? Also, we didn't notice this. He then starts to go through the process of expelling the creature in our midst, quite possibly while we're eating, and we are not noticing this until like the last few seconds. That's Ni-Alpha fear, not knowing that. How did the aliens get inside the chest and pop out? Because that's how I see most people. They're like all possessed, deranged retards. So you're like, how did this happen? So like Grigory, you're like, okay, before I get into like studying physics or studying philosophy or studying anthropology, I need to get away from whatever stupid disease is floating out in the air that has gotten into people. So that sounds weird. Fine, my kind keep kicking ass, and not just that, my kind that are more like this be all the other Naiji. So it goes just like that. The data is backing it up to the Zai. To the Zai, so I got no fear on that. I can slice that finally. How'd you like it? Deli thin? Yeah. Alright. So, now I'm kind of established hero and why you need to do it, because okay. If it helps, I went around there, hold on to this one nugget. The secret to greatness is effort. So, this will explain a few things that bother people, like heroism and anger, i.e. dissatisfaction. They make for the most effort. That lets Naiji break all kinds of records, like running really fast over hurdles and shit, but also breaking math problems. Do you know how hard it is to break super big math problems? It's a ferocious, violent effort. It's a violent, Have you seen any athlete when they go for the finish line? Their body is doing all kinds of crazy shit. They're telling you what to do, but it's starting to shake and shimmy. That's how much exertion, how much effort, and that's how they won. So, V works like that, no duh. So does Vi. So does Vi. Vi works like that. They all work like that. Every single one, they start to keen. How do you push through keening? You got to hear up. I can make another explanation for that, but it'll take me like 18 gazillion books. It's just easier to say hero, since we all already got evolved to know what that is. That one word or concept, even before the word, there's a concept within you already of being a hero of the tribe. You evolved with this. So like, trying to put that into words is really big, but it's actually a concept that should be right in your mind's eye. The fact that it's not means that mean kind of messed you up. Because that does smack of ego. But ego is necessary up to a point. Kind of nine Zai. The Zai of it is you want to have an ego up to the correct point, but no more, but no less. There is such a thing, because everyone's like ego good, bad. No, not ego good, not ego bad, ego perfect. That's the answer. The answer is always perfect. That should always be your answer, but that means you actually have to take control of something that may actually have bad consequences, because heroism can lead to, or the feeling of self-heroism can lead to ideas of grandiosity. And that does lead to some bad stuff, because Naiji also holds lots of records for stuff that I really wish we didn't hold records for. That keeps me up at night. It really does. Actually, it's one of the main reasons why I'm being so cagey with this. I'm a Naiji and I'm a prime among my kind. And I know what I can do, and I know what other people with my kind of talent can do if you give them access to stuff. Yeah, Naiji can run the table with just a little bit of information, so I, above all people, know I'm deadly aware of that. Okay, so let's talk about superpowers. I, Thomas Chanot, you can call me Coach. In fact, you need to call me Coach, because I'm teaching you, I'm teaching all of you. I'm a superhero. That gives me the right to teach all of you, because I'm a superhero that can train other people to be a superhero. Now, does that sound whiffy? Okay, I'm going to call you on that. My side wants to call you on that. I think that's why I'm here today. I'm going to call you on that. So anyone doesn't think I'm a superhero, let's go with it. Let's take Batman. Batman qualifies as a superhero, I think we can all agree. He's basically working with cutting-edge technology. That's the metaphor usually what makes a superpower anyway. I'm using him because he's kind of that bridge where a lot of people are, is he a superhero? You know, most people say he is, but since he's a normal dude with accoutrements, he's like a debating point. So he's kind of like on the Zai dividing line for a lot of people of like, is it not? Like Jonah Hex, is he a superhero? No, I think he's just a cowboy. Batman, I think that's over the line. Okay, I'm a geek, but I'm telling you, it actually helped me out in life. When you look at Batman, he basically has technology that is outside enough, even though they make a scientific explanation for it. He's the head dude of, like, you know, Wayne Enterprises, and Wayne Enterprises does that. So it's kind of normal, like not normal, but it's like possible. But it is superhero in that technically that technology is either not available to the public, or it's so small that it really can't be expected that other humans would even know what it was, how to deal with it, be prepared. They're completely, and I think this is where super comes from, they are completely overmatched. I believe that's kind of the cutoff. Jonah Hex is a hero. He's a comic hero, probably a pulp comic hero. Batman's a superhero. Why? Because mortals, even though technically he doesn't have like innate physical augmentation, physical or mental augmentation, what he can do has been stretched to that his intellectual abilities, his physical abilities, and his technological assets make it to where other humans aggregate. The aggregate of the whole congregation of humans and the apex of any individual human. Okay, I'm defining for you. Okay, right now I'm defining superhuman for you in case you don't know what the definition is. Because throw this word around, it doesn't make me whiffy. I'm telling you that's the word, and I passed that bar. And I can teach you to get there too. Superhero, pretty much most of the humans on a planet, like over 90%, can't do that, a given thing. And then like, in the case of Batman, he's kind of cutting off point because you can say like, well, there are billionaires, there are cutting edge technologies, but the way they portray Batman is, and that's why he's like the 51 on this concept or principle, or both, is no human has ever actually had all that. Like, how rich is Richard Branson? He's really rich, but I believe Bruce Wayne is richer. How tough is George St. Pierre? He's really tough, but I believe Batman's tougher. How good a detective is the best human detective we have alive? Really good, but they say Batman is slightly better than the best detective. That's actually what they give him his power. His power is the definition, he's the best human. So he's unprecedented. His powers are unprecedented. Humans are going to be interacting kind of like, you know, when these are like early superheroes. If you will see how much I can go forensic with this, and I think scientists, I think if you agree to this sort of, you know, kind of gigalicious word, I think you'll agree it works all the way back through evolution. Whenever you had animals who were from another region of the world, and something kept them separate, and they evolved very, very differently to where there's like two different apex hunters, for example. But actually, one apex hunter is a lot better, like way better. But the environment the other one was in didn't require them to get any better than they were. And that's fine, because they're the top of the chain. Then something happens, a land bridge forms, whatever, and next thing you know, you got some pterodactyls are coming over, or some, you know, some T-Rexes, I don't know what it is, there's big vicious chicken birds with the big beaks, they're mean, whatever they were. But anyway, different time these major shift happens, the other animals basically got superheroed. This is evolutionary. It isn't. Basically, they came in, all of a sudden, this creature had tusks like they'd never seen, they ate like they'd never seen, they don't need water, they had superpowers, and they lived, and the other ones died. So being a superhero is kind of the key to evolution and not being extinct. Because it's the secret to effort. We keep going back to that. You must strive to not be sheared off by natural law. So if you were to strive, then you have to be a superhero. Now we define that Batman would be a superhero. Because, like I said, if you took Richard Branson, and acting. Yeah, so take Richard Branson and make him a good an actor as like Johnny Depp and Daniel Day-Lewis and a bunch of other ones. Like, he can do everything. Like, Batman basically is a master of disguise. He can be funny, he can be whatever he wants, he can be mean, he can be a mobster, he can be like a Don Juan, he can do anything. So he's a master actor. So the best actor on the planet, is there any best actor on the planet right now who is also a billionaire? Who also has like Bill Gates plus technology? So it doesn't exist. So as a concept, you'd have to say that that's a definition. That is the point at which if you can clear that, you can say, I have superpowers. Okay, so, yeah, I give another definition too. Now this can shift in the future. But I think there will always be this element to it, is like John Henry. I think it's his name, right? The dude who's pounding nails into the railroad.
Yeah, the railroad dude.
The railroad dude. Okay, so thank goodness I have some history people here. So he's nailing the things in, and he is generally considered to be a not just folk hero. This is actually anthropology. He's generally considered to be a epic or mythic folk hero, even though he was a real dude. John Henry's a real dude. So like, why do people say, because he's like a real world Batman, that's gonna be like, that was superhuman. Why? Because the best machines of the land, which at that time, we're talking like, you know, things like the telegraph and whatnot, one of the cream of the crop premier technology of the time was the locomotive. That was a pinnacle of technology. All over the planet, that was a pinnacle. But there was another machine that went with that, which is actually afterwards a like special machine that pounded in the posts. So the locomotive was superhuman, right? Most people thought that's superhuman, but they also thought that the machine that pounded things in, that's superhuman, meaning no human could ever perform at the level a machine did. Because you're basically, again, this is where superheroes come in, it's how we get made. Superheroes are pretty much man, human, versus nature is the strongest hero there is, because human versus human combat, that's tough, but like, you know, human versus animal, that's tougher. Human versus storms, that's tougher. Humans versus the unknown, that's actually the toughest fight there is. So actually, again, you kind of have to go, okay, unknown, you and I are squaring off, and I'm going to whoop you. You know what I mean? That's what you have to do. Even though you routinely feel stupid and get knocked down because you missed shit, and natural law's like, aha, you didn't see that, clipped you. You're like, oh yeah, let's go to the round. You have to get up, dust yourself off, your hero self up, and go to the round. So we're finding, I think, Batman and John Henry as basically like, I think it's a 49-51. That's like, we're starting to go hero there. Okay, let's bring me in. Oh, before I go here, I'll just say this, how I got here, and which is why I'll continue to go here and why I'm into spiritual stuff and I will always be, is that I actually think most people are trying to break a scientific case, or they're trying to break a spiritual case. There are some who think they're trying to break one case and they're ahead of the other ones. But even them, a lot of them don't quite understand the key element. I actually have to say that some of the actually early shamanic traditions, now some of them are actually barbaric, nasty, cruel shit, which I have nothing, you know, nothing bad things to say about. But some of this part, you see in some early shamanic traditions around the world, which is really, really good. The secret to being really good about with science or spirituality is to be a superhero. You're basically trained through mythic poems, be like that person. And is just trying to be like that person, you just kind of get real world smart and formidable and real spiritually developed through that process. It's kind of this, the enlightenment elevator. There's so much to natural law. If you want to get really good at it, you have to find these things that you can focus on that get you a lot of natural law without even thinking about it all. Like hold on to like a key thing, like key principles. That's a key principle. If you keep trying to be a hero, you will get strong, you will get smart, you will get good, both in ability and in character. So I know, because I'm going to tell you some superhero things I can do that no one else on this planet can do right now. You're looking at the only dude who can do it. And this is noticeably above other humans, so I passed the Batman mark. And yes, there is not even yet a machine yet that can do this. Right now, facial recognition technology is considered to be one of the premier technologies on the planet, and is considered to be one of the ones that's the most important. It's going to be becoming bigger and bigger. I can beat all of them. There's no machine out there that actually can do anything like I can do. So I can John Henry any machine out there. The difference between me and John Henry is he was trying to show, you know, that humans can stack up into machines. I'm not really trying to do that. I can at this point. That's actually not my goal. My goal is actually to get them to build it. I actually don't feel like keep pounding in these fucking railroad tracks to enlightenment. That's not, I'm pounding these in manually. I don't want to do it. I actually, yeah, you're not going to see any fear from me about forensic evidence. I want it to be digitally mapped, so A, you all fucking know I was right, and I don't have to do it manually anymore. It's taxing. It's very taxing, but I can. I can outperform the greatest technologies of this era to a far greater ratio than John Henry was able to outperform that nail driving machine. So I clear both the Batman and John Henry bar for being mythic, epic superhero. Okay, how so? I shall tell you. Number one, no reading. Now you go, no duh, like yada yada. Okay, yeah, but you people aren't really getting it. The reason why I mentioned the Grigori thing is, I have not been paying attention most of my life, and I wanted to highlight that guy because a lot of them like it. He's very strong. He needs to go further and start to bring himself out in the world and use his knowledge to actually push. But he's very strong with his Nai and his Zai, obviously. But you need to understand right now, I'm going to show you a little of my heroic ego, because I did earn this right, and a hero in a tribe needs to make sure the other people in the tribe know who is a better hero than others in the tribe, so they know who to follow. You need to follow what I'm doing, because I can do things you need to be able to do, and this is how I went about it. So I've spent most of my life really trying to avoid issues with money, career, things like that. I don't like them, they bother me. I don't like being out in the public. I don't like talking on this camera right now. I'm basically being made to do this by my other because my theory is so strong. She's demanding that I go out and show it off. But even still right now, I'm a very reclusive person, I don't want to. But I'm trying to make a correlation between me and this Mr. Grigori person because a lot of people, and these would be retarded people, I would actually, forgive that somewhat in other mojos, but I've been getting this from a lot of Ni Alpha, so let's get something straight here. I am the top dog. I'm telling you, I am top dog of the yard. I'll use this example here. He's not trying to get rich right now. If he decides to down the line, it's going to be very easy because he's an uber genius. He focused on that. He's like, I want to know things. So that's the goal he accomplished. I know there's a person I knew, another Ni Alpha. This person is successful in some ways, but I would say overall is not successful. But they told me a very good principle, but ironically, they should have used the principle in another way. The principle is this. They were talking about a certain career that they're in, and they make a lot of money in it. Or, a lot of money to me. I was very impressed, I was like, oh, you make a lot of money. So I asked, does that career make that? Because it seemed kind of like that was a lot of money for that career. And he said a magic Ni thing. No, it makes that kind of money if that's what you set out to do. Meaning, he wanted to make that amount of money. So he organized his degree and his internships and everything he did to get to that goal. Leaving behind, this is good if done, it's the best if done right, you're a superhero. If wrong, then it's the worst thing you can do. To the exclusion of all other pathways. You have an infinite number of pathways that are unfolding on you every millisecond of every moment. And each millisecond you are doing something with it, which means all the other nearly infinite choices you didn't do. Every second of your life you're doing that. A gazillion choices you could have done, like the conflagration of cues. Every millisecond your face could have done any of them. Any of them. And every millisecond you did one or a little portion of that whole thing. So that's destiny. You're basically taking your destiny in your hand. Which one of those do I want to do today, now, all the time? What do I want my top end to be? You're heroically choosing what I want my top end to be. So in that case, it was apparently to make that amount of money. So that was the route. For Ni Alpha, I don't consider that to be a very high goal to make like pretty good money. You know what I mean? That's not a very high goal for now. Once you know what Ni Alpha have done as far as like setting world records, that's not even on that's not even the index. It really isn't like you wouldn't even put that on page like gazillion, like it's not even a footnote. Except like an aggregate of, some Niji kind of settle. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, you would just take all that and just put a footnote there, like, yeah, that happens sometimes, it's unfortunate. But this guy Grigori, he's very big about purity of the mind, about not allowing himself to be affected in the way that other humans are, that doesn't let them get to the goal he wants. And what's the goal he wanted? That's better. I mean, I've trumped him, I beat him too, but still, that was a really big goal. He wanted to actually crack a major mathematical problem. Something that had stumped many humans. Ooh, now we're talking, that's a Ni Alpha, that's a badass right there. Okay, that's a math kensei. And there are a lot of Niji math kenseis, and Tat apparently is a master right there. So, he did that by deciding that's where I need to be, and how does one walk there? That's a secret to being a hero. I'm going to set a great and a great intention I can be proud of. That's how I would say an intention that's really, really big, but its bigness is a kind of bigness, a flavor of bigness that I can go, I'm proud I made that big. Do you know what I mean? Because you can make bigness and go, wow, and take pride that I made something big. You can be a gangster. Look, I killed 1,001 people. The last guy, only 1,000. New high. And just know there are quite a few times you've done this. That's very embarrassing. But the goal should be actually to go beyond that and make it a bubble that you would make yourself proud of, which that would allow even your full conscious powers, your G alone should say something's off there. But that definitely would make your other happy. So that's your job, pretty much. And you're like, it is? I'm telling you, I'm an IG, I'm really good, I've broken lots of records, my kind break lots of records, and this is how you do it. Okay, so, mojo reading. I had to take a segue there before coming back here to understand that right now, you really, if you're a guest here, I'm gonna say this right now because my students want to go on like an educational tour and show off their skills on some forums because they're tired of people thinking they know better than us. I have held them back from doing this because I really don't like conflict, and I really consider the thing I need to work towards be reading all the celebrities so that there's no one I don't know the mojo of and can't like notate the case easily, and then from there getting it digitally mapped. So for me, my eye is still going for that. That's my goal, but I understand my students want to do this, and because I pay attention to this, I can see their heroism wants to do this. They're chomping at the bit, and so my other and my master are telling me that I should let them display their skills as long as they go about it the right way, which I'll get into later on. But it's a good thing. So back to the mojo reading. For those of you who are going to come on this site probably very much in the near future, it's because there's an interest happening because I'm going to have my top students and other students too, as long as they announce what their abilities are, talking about what they can do and expressing their abilities and demonstrating their abilities to people on public forums out and about in the forum world, the web world. This is the weakest you're ever going to see me, this stage of things, both physically and financially and all that kind of stuff. And this is because I've been doing the Grigori thing. I've been focusing on cracking theoretical problems. So mainly I've been worrying about my HSP and the world getting on me, so I kind of just went mainly and just cavemaned it most of this time. And of course I went out and did various missions to get my abilities up, but mainly it was, you know, Merlin, Crystal Cave kind of style. I'm not going to go on and on about this, except that in order to read people, just an individual, any individual, requires holding a mathematical algorithm that is unprecedented and no one is even close on. Because, for example, there's facial recognition, unprecedented technology that's unfolding right now, and then there is the top people who think they know about cognitive functionality, and then there are those who think they know about personality type. Okay, and they're coming at them from they're three different sciences. First of all, starting, they are one science. It's just one science, and that is really not even. That's a discipline within PodLayer. That's just one little thing, and all the best people right now, like the best people like Micro Expressions, and who are these other people out here? Paul Ekman. Okay, just don't really. If you are hanging, anyone coming over from these forums to check us out and see what's going on over here, if you think that actually holding on to any of that stuff is going to actually give you anything, I'm telling you right now, my full intention is to kick that right over, and I have the ability to do so. That is irrefutable forensic evidence, and that math problem, because that evidence will constellate a math problem. That's the key. I'm not just saying, ooh, I'm doing this forensically. It also means that I had to be, this is crucial, a certain kind of person to do this. Like we mentioned sometimes Daniel Temin. The reason why people want to study him personally is he's the only one who's doing that kind of stuff. So it's not just, ooh, cool, he can do that, but how can he do that? And I'm telling you all that that's how it'll have to be here, because you won't be able to do it right otherwise. You actually have to come at it from a heroic standpoint, because the more heroic you are, the more your Synamnio works the way it's supposed to work. You have a heroic script in you, and the more you try to enact it, like your spirits wake up and they can do much bigger math problems. Like I'm saying, like I've seen the people who are doing the micro expressions and these other things, they're really smart. I'm telling you right now, people over at these forums that my students are going to go over and explain to you how life is, so you will know because you don't right now, they would all school you. If this microexpressions guy or these other brain type people, if they were to come on there personally, you would all just run and cower. I'm telling you right now, they're going to run and cower for me and my students. So that's how it's going to roll. Does that seem superhuman? Good. Okay. Because we get two things for people. They don't like me saying hero, superhero, witty stuff, and at the same time they keep saying those claims seem so far-fetched, like it's fantasy. You kind of got half right. It is. It is heroic, and that's exactly what happens. I mean, that's a fantastical ability. Especially those of you who think you're doing like complex stuff with the psychology of like 16 personality type. That's so rudimentary, really. My Synamnia is so powerful and so complex, and this algorithm is so powerful and so complex, and this is a small one for me, that it took me a while to realize that that's what you fools were doing. Seriously, I hate going under 1,024. That's, for me, that's like the minimum number. So like 16, that's so crude. And like I said, 1,024 actually seems very broad. And we're getting squeals over this. Right then, okay, you need to stop squealing. Squealing comes from being a punk. Punk's like the opposite of being heroic. You are flinching from the effort. This gets back to it. You're flinching from, that theory can't be true. I have to say, most people are just wimping out. What they really are having is their brain is actually shutting down on them as they contemplate how much rework they would have to do. It's kind of like when a teacher actually gives you really good advice in your paper, but it's a lot of really good advice, which means your paper will be mondo better, but it'll be a lot of work and it'll be virtually a different paper. A lot of people tend to balk on that. Sorry, that is what you have to do. Sometimes when someone points out to you that's what you have to do, you're like, that's so arduous. Scientific effort is arduous. Relationship effort is arduous. Pretty much anything that is better than average is arduous. So thus you must be a hero. So you go, even though it's arduous, I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have Mojo reading. That is the math problem like a Gori that I was trying to solve. Not that one, I was actually trying to solve a bigger problem than that. I have way more abilities than this, but I'm just going to keep it pithy so you can hold on. I'm going to name 5 I have right now that all qualify as superhuman, and I have 5 more that I'm playing with right now, and the main reason I'm even talking with you, I'm even dealing with the public, is because I want those next 5 major superpowers, and my spirits say I can't get them without interacting with the tribe on a large public scale. So, yeah, I want that. So, but here's the ones you want. If you don't want these, you're really stupid. I have to come out aggressive here because we keep getting from people like, what would you do with it? Why would you have that? Okay, the reason I spent my life, I know, trying to solve this is because I'm a little personal with you now. My parents bothered me in certain ways. Because they were both Naiji. And I didn't have these names for it at the time. Names for me were irrelevant. I developed names later when my students asked for names to try to explain things to them. For me, it was just that concept. It was too big to even express. But I knew that they were not an apex relationship. And that pretty much everything that they were doing that was messed up came from that and not knowing kind of who they are to a large extent. Although, I mean, they would probably think they're pretty close to the Mojo they are. They don't think you play that Mojo the way you play it, which is why they think the directives are supposed to go off and be directives and you just annex yourself from adaptives. Okay, that annoyed me. It annoyed me because it messed up my life. It messed up the lives of a lot of people, pretty much everyone who came into contact with that. I'm just using my parents' example, but there's all kinds of things. Teachers, the way they taught their classes, like everything out of their mouth, the way they walked into class, the way they prepared materials, everything about them, it colored everything, and no one was seeing this. So, I'm going to equate psychological weight with physical weight, so you can really see the superhero analogy. Another superhero that's kind of on that 49-51 line is the Shadow. The Shadow knows. Alec Baldwin, great movie. Anyway, based on, I think, an early radio show. But his character can basically cloud the minds of men and do a few little things. They're like sort of like Jedi-like. They're like Jedi, but often not quite as fantastical. So it's sort of like on that like, it's kind of like it's like a super mentalist. You know, he's like a super mentalist. Like, but that's I'd say it's superhuman at that point. For everything we're talking about. Oh yes, in the movie. Yes, keep momentum going because memory's really crappy for me. But in the movie, The Shadow, there's a scene where you see the true super heroic power of the Shadow. It's like the apex maneuver he does. Well, he has two apex maneuvers. Probably the other apex maneuver is when he stops the spinning knife and says, "No, you're with me." That's that was a big move too. But this other move was another major apex maneuver, a big Fumasta maneuver, and it will explain to you how powerful I have had to be to do this. Clearly superhuman. He's walking around town and his enemy, another mind jobber like him, is his opponent, but he's having a very difficult time finding out where his opponent is. Especially since his abilities are all screaming to him, he's here and he's growing stronger. So he's got all his abilities up, the best abilities he has ever had to date. This is his peak enemy, a classic Dark Fumasta. He gonna have to superhero up to beat this creature. So it turns out that the reason he was not able to even find his opponent is because he had succumbed to a mind spell of such tremendous power that that creature, that kind of like Genghis Khan Fumasti bad emperor from Star Wars dude, he cast a spell of non-seeing. A spell of non-seeing so strong that it looked like there was a blank parking lot. And everyone who walked by thought it was a blank parking lot. Even the Shadow, the current strongest mind that tribe's village could produce. And so up to this point, the Dark Fumasta has his number. He can't even find him. And then he has an encounter with a creature that, if not his other, I'd say probably is the characters, not the casting, but definitely inspirational. He is inspired by that, and he's inspired by this enemy who's going to hurt the city, and he can't even see him. A classic Nai Alpha predicament. You know what I mean? Like classic Nai Ji. The tribe is going to be hurt, and hurt by something, back to the aliens and exploding chests, that I can't see. My people, the good people, are going to get hurt by something they don't see. So, at the end of the day, well, at the end of that day, he summons all his psychic resources, and he basically does a psychic deadlift. He reaches down to the mind's eye being projected out on top of that parking lot, and he lifts it over his head and reveals what it truly is, which is the dark, evil Fumasta's, not real Fumasta, faux Fumasta's lair. A huge empire building that is like super mega strong, and if it had gotten any stronger, probably would have not been possible to defeat. It would have gotten too far to defeat. So classic Nai Alpha. Not only do I have to know the unknown, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, there's a little timer on that. So he had to hero up, and he did. He had to push himself, exert himself. He had to face his demons. It's a classic mythic heroic trajectory. He had to better himself because he wasn't as heroic as he needed to be. And when he got more heroic, he saw better. He understood how to be with a woman better. He had more strength of mind to get to a pushing contest with the guy. He was more at peace with himself and was able to master the dagger. So basically, all his abilities went up. That's a key to being a hero and a superhero is, if you want to get your science abilities better or your spirituality abilities better, focus on being a hero. Because it will insist that you follow natural law. The only way to be going up, up, up and away is to keep racing along the razor's edge of natural law. That's how you do superhuman stuff. And when you stop doing that, you cease to be superhuman and you fall off, and then you're just a normal superhuman. So, I have done this. All the greatest minds in the land, so I'm talking a city, this whole planet, the greatest minds in the land came up with, and I'm not mocking, but I am going to state what they've done, because there are people who have been working on cases that I have, Many of them I did not even know they were working on those cases. Others I was aware that they were working on the cases, but I was correcting their work. But I do give credit, like Grigori, he gives credit to another math person who put forth like an original initial formula or solution to that math problem. It wasn't the correct one, and then he made the correct one. Okay, so there is that element, and it could seem like, okay, that I should give credit to all these other people. Yes and no. I will give credit up to where it's due. For example, my parents. I've seen them dismantle so many Ni-Alpha, I will give them full props. They are masterful at dismantling other Ni-Alpha and doing that kind of thing heroically. They can also do it unheroically sometimes, but mostly heroically. I learned from that. And a lot of the reason why I'm such a good dismantler of other stupid or weak Ni-Alphas is because I learned that from my parents. But my parents didn't realize they were supposed to go with their other. Their environment is not made conducive for that. So I have to say that I did use that, but I used that to spring off way past what they did. So I can give them credit for being semi-heroic to heroic, but I would then qualify as heroic because I took only the good and not the bad, and then super heroic because I leaped out way beyond what the lessons they taught. They taught me a lot of good heroic principles, but then I corrected their usage of it in my mind's eye, and then I took it and ran with it and did unprecedented things that they've never come anywhere close to. I'm using this at such a deep level so you understand that that's how I've done everything. I've studied, Socrates, Plato, I've read Jung, okay, but while I was doing that, I was constantly correcting his work because, we'll get in a minute, another filming here, but I have a lot of problems with Jung. I mean, I'm going to give him credit in that he did some things right, but I have a lot of issues with what he did and how he did it. And I think we're going to have to go another filming on that because I know a lot of you are going to be coming over these forums are going to be like bringing that up like he's like some sort of like, metaphysical like Jesus or something. I'm telling you right now, he got a lot wrong, and I can prove that in theoretical discourse and in forensic evidence. So if that was your previous top guy, yeah, he's going down it easy. I don't even consider him to be a major challenger. He's just the dude I don't want to be mean to him because I think he did a lot of heroic things, but he got some things wrong, and I'm going to challenge him hard on that. He got a lot of things wrong. And so he's a stepping stone for me. I consider him a stepping stone onto bigger and better fish. I mean, he is a strong Ni-Alpha mind, but they're a lot stronger than that. By the way, anyone who doesn't think he's a Ni-Alpha, I'm not going to tell you which one he is. But any of you who doesn't, because I don't like to say things too firm on limited forensic evidence, but the dude's definitely Ni-Alpha. I know people think he's some other mojos or cognitive designs or whatever people call them, types or metaforms, whatever crap they're calling these days. You're way off. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So I think we finished there, but that's the first of my superpowers. I will continue with more superpowers in the next filming.